The security camera on the 43rd floor of Moretti Tower recorded everything. Timestamp 0:40. Set. Vint. I trees. The hallway outside penthouse A was 42 feet long and 8 feet wide. At 0:47. The space was communicating, something it had not been designed for. 6 people on the floor. 1 person standing. The person standing was wearing the same clothes he had worn to a construction site that morning: work pants, gray thermal, boots that had seen more concrete than carpet. He was on the phone. The call lasted 11 seconds. Behind him, a woman in a silk robe was standing in a doorway, with her hand over her mouth. She had not yet decided what she was looking at. Her name was Elena Moretti, 31 years old. Her father had built the tower she was standing in. He had built 17 buildings in Chicago, 4 in New York, and 2 in Miami. Her father had died 4 months ago. His name was Angelo Moretti. He had left Elena everything, not directly. 51% of Moretti properties was held in trust. The trust would release to Elena upon her marriage. If she was not married, within 6 months of her father's death, the trust would be administered by the board of directors, which currently included 4 people who reported to her uncle Marco, and 2 people who were deciding whether to. Elena had approximately 8 weeks. When the lawyers finished talking, Marco Moretti was 53 years old and had spent most of those years in the specific orbit of a man with genuine talent, close enough to benefit from it, far enough to avoid ever having to develop his own. He had looked at the trust structure and seen an opportunity. He had been patient. Now he was not patient. Elena needed a name, not a partner, not a husband in any meaningful sense. A name on a document. Her lawyers gave her a list of 6. 5 of them had problems. The 6th name was Caleb Stone, son of a former associate of her father's, currently employed as a private security consultant. No significant assets, no corporate affiliations, no known connections to anyone in the Moretti orbit. He's clean, Elena's lawyer said, and he has nothing to gain by making this complicated. Find him, she said. The meeting was at 9 a.m. Caleb Stone arrived at 9:03. Elena was already seated at the conference table with her lawyer, 2 assistants, and a contract that her legal team had spent 11 hours preparing. He walked in, and the first thing she noticed was the boots. Construction boots, worn at the toe, with a specific quality of use that suggested they were not worn for the aesthetic. The second thing she noticed was that he did not apologize for being 3 minutes late. He sat down. He looked at the contract on the table. 6 pages, he said. The terms are straightforward. Elena said, "You'll want to read." He turned to page 6. He read the signature line. He picked up the pen her lawyer had placed at the table's edge. He signed. He put the pen down. He looked at her. "What time tomorrow?" 11, Elena said. He nodded. He stood. He left. Elena looked at the signed contract. 6 pages. He had read the signature line. The penthouse had 4 bedrooms. Elena assigned him the smallest. She sat down with him on the 3rd evening. "This is the calendar. You appear when it says you appear. You don't speak at these events, unless someone speaks to you first. If someone asks about us, the story is that we met through my father, which is technically true. You don't discuss your work. You don't discuss my work." She looked at him. He was looking at the calendar. "The 4th, he said, "the charity gala. What time does it end?" "Usually 11. I'll need to leave by 10:30. Elena looked at him. "These events are mandatory. I understand. I'll be there from 7 to 10:30. If you need me past 10:30, I'll need 48 hours notice." "Why 10:30? She said. "Work," he said. "You're not working. This is the arrangement. This is part of the arrangement," he said. "I have obligations that predate the arrangement." "Fine," she said. 10:30. He handed the calendar back. He went to his room. That night, Elena stood at the window and looked at Chicago 43 floors below. Her father had loved this city. He had said once, when she was small, she couldn't have been more than 7, that the best thing about a building was not what it looked like from the outside, but what it felt like to be inside it. Buildings are for people, he had said. Everything else is vanity. 3 days before the end, he had looked at her and said, "Someone will come. Trust him." She had thought he was confused. She had not asked him to explain. Down the hall, a light was still on. She didn't know what he was doing. She went to bed. She did not know. In the room at the end of the hall, Caleb Stone was reading a letter, for the 47th time. A letter that had arrived, via privated courier, on the morning of Angelo Moretti's death. The handwriting on the envelope said, "For Elena, when she is ready." He had been waiting to know when that was. And Angelo Moretti, made his last phone call on a Tuesday morning in November. Not to Elena, not to his lawyers, not to the board members he had spent 30 years building relationships with. He called a number that was not in his phone's contact list. He had memorized it. That was intentional. The call connected on the second ring. "It's Angelo," he said. "I know," said the voice on the other end. "I don't have much time," Angelo said, "medically or otherwise." "I know that too," Caleb said. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I've had a good life. I'm calling about Elena." A pause. "Marco," Caleb said. "Yes." "How long?" "He'll move within 6 months of my death. The trust structure forces Elena into a position he can exploit. She'll figure out what she needs to do. She's her mother's daughter. But the solution she finds will leave her exposed. She doesn't know what Marco is capable of. I do. What do you need? I need someone in the building, close enough to act if something happens, far enough that she doesn't know she's being watched. She won't accept protection, Caleb said. Not from someone she doesn't know. No, Angelo said. That's why I need you, to let her think the protection is her idea. The trust, Caleb said. She'll need a name. Yours will come up. My lawyers know to include it. She'll think she chose you, because you have nothing to gain. She's right about that. She'll be wrong about everything else. The container site on Halsted, Caleb said. I can be there in 2 weeks. I know the site, Angelo said. I built the building next to it. Good sightlines to the tower. I'm sending you a letter, Angelo said. For Elena. Give it to her when she's ready, not before. How will I know when? You'll know, he said. She'll stop managing and start looking. When she looks at you instead of past you, that's when. He died 11 days later. Caleb moved to the Halsted site the following week. The container was 12 feet by 8. He had stayed in smaller. He had stayed in worse. He set up what he needed. The cot, the secure line, the monitoring equipment that was built into a case, indistinguishable from a toolkit. He read the letter once. He put it in the inner pocket of his jacket. He began watching. He was good at watching. He watched Marco's movements. He identified 3 people in the Moretti Properties organization who were feeding information to Marco's team. He noted their access levels. He noted their schedules. He noted what they were sending, and to whom. The civil ceremony was a Tuesday at 11. 4 people in the room. Elena, Caleb, a city clerk named Patricia, and Elena's lawyer, who witnessed and left. Patricia asked them to face each other. Elena looked at Caleb. Caleb looked at Elena. It was the first time she had looked at him directly. Not through him, not past him, but at him. Since the contract signing. She was thinking about the trust. Patricia asked them to repeat the words. They repeated the words. The 4 months passed the way that time passes. When you are waiting for something. Caleb was present at the events he was required to be present at. He wore the clothes that had been delivered. Without comment, he stood where he was positioned. He spoke when he was spoken to, briefly, correctly, without embellishment. 3 times. At 3 different events, someone asked him what he did. He said, private consulting. No one asked for more. By month 3, he knew which thread Marco would pull first. Elena knocked on his door once, at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. He opened it. She was holding a folder. I need you to look at something, she said. Financial documents. Something doesn't add up in the Q3 reporting, and my CFO isn't giving me a straight answer. Can I have it until morning? She handed it to him. In the morning, he returned it with a single sheet of paper clipped to the front. On the paper, 3 names, 3 account numbers, and a timeline that went back 14 months. Elena looked at the paper, then at him. How did you? You gave me the folder, he said. This isn't in the folder. No, he said. It isn't. These 3, she said. What do I do about them? Nothing yet, he said. Let them keep reporting. It's better to know what Marco is receiving than to make him find another channel. She looked at him for a moment. Okay, she said. She did not ask where the 3 names had come from. That night, he sat in his room and looked at the envelope in his jacket pocket. Not yet, he thought. Not quite yet. And the night it happened was a Wednesday. Caleb had known it would be a Wednesday for 11 days. He moved quietly through the penthouse on those 11 days, adjusting things that did not need to be adjusted, in ways that no one noticed, for purposes that would only be clear later. He did not tell Elena. He let them think they were coming to something unprepared. At 11:47 p.m., Elena went to bed. Caleb heard the light go off under her door. He waited 20 minutes. Then he went to the hallway. He stood at the end of the hallway, in the section where the indirect lighting created a shadow. He stood there. He was not anxious. He knew the number of people coming. He knew their approximate capability. He knew the layout of the space better than they did. What he did not know was the exact timing. He stood in the shadow and waited for the timing to resolve itself. The elevator opened at 0:31. 6 people. Victor led them. Victor was good. 14 years of this kind of work. Eastern European background. Specific training indicators that suggested paramilitary experience, followed by private sector. Victor was the best person Marco could have sent. This was not a problem, it was simply information. Victor looked down the hallway. He saw a man standing at the far end. He had not expected a man at the far end. Victor said, "Move." The man said, "No." Victor had heard many things said to him. In moments like this, he had not frequently heard one word, delivered without volume or visible stress, by a person who did not appear to be calculating whether to comply. He moved toward the man with 4 of his team. What happened in the next 73 seconds is easier to describe by its outcome than by its sequence, because the sequence was too fast and too specific to carry meaning in the telling. The meaning was in the outcome. 6 people on the floor, none unconscious, all incapacitated, with a precision that spoke of detailed knowledge, not of fighting, but of human anatomy, and the specific mechanics of how bodies fail when the right force is applied, to the right point, with the right timing. Victor, who was on his back, looking at the ceiling of the 43rd floor hallway, was thinking about the speed, not the force, the speed, and about the economy of it, the absence of wasted motion. He had seen that quality twice in his life. Both times it had been in people whose names he was not supposed to know. He was beginning to think this might be a third time. Caleb took out his phone. He dialed. 2 rings. He said 3 sentences. He ended the call. Victor looked at the phone. He could not read the screen from the floor, but he could see the shape of the logo in the upper corner. He had seen that logo on a briefing document 4 years ago. The name under the logo had been discussed in the same breath as the words "do not engage." Victor closed his eyes. Elena was in the doorway. She had come into the hallway, expecting to find something she could manage. She found 6 people on the floor, and Caleb Stone putting his phone in his pocket. He turned. He looked at her. Then she said, "Who are you?" Not a question. "Caleb Stone," he said. "I know your name." "Yes. Tell me what I don't know." "Caleb Stone," he said again. "Chairman, Blackwood Group. We provide private security infrastructure for 73% of Fortune 500 companies operating in the United States, including Moretti Properties, until 6 months ago, when your uncle renegotiated the contract to a firm that reported to him." "Blackwood," she said. "Yes. My father called me 6 weeks before he died." She looked at the 6 people on the floor. "He knew this was coming," she said. "He knew Marco would eventually do something he couldn't take back. He didn't know exactly what. He wanted someone here who could handle the whatever, and the marriage contract was a vehicle," Caleb said. "Your lawyers surfaced my name. Your father had arranged for my name to be surfaced. You chose me because I appeared to have nothing to gain. Your father chose me for the same reason. You let me treat you like an arrangement. You needed to believe it was an arrangement. If you had known someone was protecting you, you would have tried to manage the protection. And Marco would have seen you managing it." 4 months, she said. "Yes. You were watching." "Yes. He said something to me 3 days before he died. He said someone would come. He said to trust him." "I know," Caleb said. "He told me he was going to say that. And I thought he was confused. I know that too. He anticipated that." "Your father was precise," Caleb said. "The most precise people are the ones who plan for how their plans will be misunderstood." He went to his room. He came back with an envelope. He placed it in her hands. The handwriting on the front, "For Elena." Her father's hand. "He sent this to you," she said, "the morning he died, with instructions to give it to you when you were ready." "How did you know I was ready?" "You stopped looking past me," he said, "about 40 seconds ago." For the first time since the contract signing, Elena held the envelope. She did not open it. "Not yet," she said. "My father trusted you." "Yes," Caleb said. "He was not a man who trusted easily." "No," Caleb said. "He wasn't." "I need to read this alone," she said. "I know," he said. He walked to the end of the hallway. He sat down against the wall. He did not go back to his room. She looked at him sitting there. She went into her bedroom. She closed the door. She sat on the edge of the bed. She opened the envelope. The letter was 4 pages. Her father's handwriting, the specific handwriting of someone who had learned to write in an era when handwriting was taught as a form of discipline. She read the letter slowly. "Elena, if you are reading this, Caleb has decided you are ready. I have known Caleb Stone for 20 years. I helped him at a specific moment. In the early years of Blackwood, a moment when what he needed was not money or resources, but simply a person willing to say, "This is real, this is worth supporting." I knew what I was looking at. Most people didn't. He has never forgotten this. I have never asked him to remember it. I am asking him now. What I want you to understand is not the practical arrangement. You have already figured that out. What I want you to understand is why I chose him specifically. Not because he is capable. Many people are capable. Not because he is trustworthy. Trust is a quality that reveals itself in specific moments, and I have seen his specific moments. I chose him because he doesn't need anything from you or from us. People who need nothing from you are very rare. People who need nothing from you and choose to help you anyway. Still. Watch what he does when he thinks no one is watching. That is who he is. About Marco, I have known for some time what Marco intended. I am not angry about it. What I want you to know is that Marco is not the lesson. The lesson is this. I built a great deal over 50 years. Buildings, relationships, this company, this family. The thing I built most carefully was you. And the thing I am most uncertain about, the thing that keeps me awake in these final weeks, is whether I built into you enough trust to accept help when it is offered, without strings attached. You have learned to manage everything. Management is a form of distance. I am asking you to close the distance. The man sitting outside your door right now, I know he is outside the door, because I know him, and that is where he would be, is not there because of any arrangement. He is there because I asked him to be there. He said yes. The way certain people say yes, without negotiating the terms, without asking what he would receive, without making it about himself in any way. He reminded me, in that moment, of your mother. She also said yes like that. Take care of each other. Dad. Elena sat with the letter for a long time. Outside the window, Chicago was doing what Chicago does at 2 a.m. Still present, still lit. She thought about her father, at his desk on Sunday mornings. She could read the expression now. It was not sadness, it was love, but the specific kind that looks forward rather than at itself. She folded the letter. She put it back in the envelope. Then she got up, opened her bedroom door, and looked down the hall. Caleb was still there, sitting against the wall, not asleep. She walked to him. She sat down, against the wall, on the other side of the hallway. They sat across from each other in the dim light. He said you reminded him of my mother, she said. He never told me that. He wrote it. That was generous of him. He wasn't generous, Elena said. He was accurate. He didn't say things he didn't mean. What happens to Marco? She said. It's already happening. The 3 board members, who were reporting to him, documentation on their activities, went to your legal team at midnight. Marco's personal security contract with the firm he redirected, Blackwood, holds competing infrastructure in 6 of the 8 facilities that firm operates out of. Those relationships end this week. You prepared all of that. Over 4 months, yes, while attending board dinners and leaving at 10:30. The 10:30 was real, he said. I had people to debrief. For the first time, she almost smiled. He told you I wouldn't accept help, she said. He said you would manage instead of accepting. He said that was your instinct, and your armor, and also the thing most likely to get you hurt. He was right. He usually was. Is it still true? She said, that you don't need anything from us. Caleb looked at her. No, he said. That changed, he said. At some point in the last 4 months. I'm not certain exactly when. Somewhere around the 3rd week, I think. You were on the phone with a contractor who had made an error on the Wicker Park project. And you were very precise about it. You told him exactly what the error had cost, what it would take to correct it, and what you needed from him going forward. Without anger, without drama, just, this is what happened, this is what needs to happen now. And then you said thank you, and hung up, and went back to your desk. I don't remember that call. I know, that's part of why I remember it. I need to understand something, she said. You came here because my father asked you to. You've stayed because of a different reason. Yes. The contract ends in 6 weeks. I know. What happens in 6 weeks? He looked at her steadily. That depends on what you decide. 6 weeks later, the contract expired. Neither of them mentioned it that day. A month after that, 7 weeks past the day the contract ended, Elena's lawyer called to ask about the formal dissolution of the marriage agreement. Elena said, I'll call you back. She did not call back that day. 3 days later, she went to find Caleb in his room, the room at the end of the hall, the one she had assigned, because it was smallest. He was reading. She stood in the doorway. I haven't called the lawyer back, she said. He looked up from the book. I know, he said. I haven't either. My father built things because he understood what they were for, she said. Before he started, he knew what they were for. Yes, Caleb said. I think he knew what this was for, she said. Before either of us did. He usually did, he said. She stood in the doorway for a moment longer. There's a project in the River North site, the one he started before he died. I'd like a second opinion on the security infrastructure, if you have time. He put the book down. I have time, he said. Angelo Moretti built 43 buildings in 3 cities over 50 years. He designed each one from the inside out, starting with what it was for, then working outward to what it looked like. He said once that the most important thing about a building was not what it looked like, but what it felt like to be inside it. He applied this principle to everything he built, including what he left behind. He did not live to see what the last arrangement became, but he had designed it from the inside out, starting with what it was for, then working outward. He had known what it was for before either of them did. He usually did. Has anyone in your life set something in motion for you that you didn't understand until you were already in the middle of it? I want to know what that looked like from the inside. I'll see you next week.